Hello lovely web show people, I am without Ash today, but we still have a fabulous show for you. I must say a huge thank you to this guest. Huge fan of hers, huge fan of the film of course being Back to the Future. We had some pretty big technical problems when we were doing it. Claudia Wells, of course, as we know as Jennifer from Back to the Future, was so fabulous late at night to spend an hour fixing her audio to try and work it through Zoom, and yet we still couldn't make my audio work. So we managed to do the interview like a mime, where I would type the questions and kind of respond with hand gestures, and she was so gracious and wonderful to persist with it. So I'm so excited that we managed to get it to work and get her on the show today. Don't forget to stay till the end of the interview because we will be revealing the winner of our Flash Gordon 4K 5-disc box set competition, as well as those other Arrow discs. But let's get things going with the interview with Claudia Wells, and also big shout out to her t-shirt, and it has, I don't know if you can see, I love you written on the back, her very own t-shirt. What else can I say? Fabulous Claudia Wells.
I did an interview a few years ago and they said, what was it like growing up in Venezuela? It was a phone interview to another country. And I was like, Venezuela? Oh yeah, you grew up in Venezuela. No, I didn't. I've never even been to Venezuela. Yes, you did. I saw it on Wikipedia. It said you grew up in, well, I've never been there, but you grew up there. It said so. And I'm like, so I thought someone went in and fixed it. I was born in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and my father researches tropical. He retired. He's 95. He'll be 96 in February. But he was researching tropical diseases. When I was about 7 weeks old, according to my mom, or 6 months old, according to my dad, they moved to San Francisco. I went to French American bilingual school. I was very studious. I danced. I did ballet, jazz, modern dance, tap, gymnastics. So I knew I wanted to be an actress since I was 3. And I used to tell my mom I would cry because I would never be small enough to fit in the TV. I really believed that. I also believed that when Mr. Rogers talked to me, he would see me. I used to hide my pacifier and my blankie when I watched Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood because I didn't want him to see that I was 3 years old and I still had both. Is that funny? See, you can't talk and I'm just going to go on and on. You are wearing my Clock Tower shirt that I invented. Is that the one that says I love you 555-4823 on the back? Sure does. Okay, so I'll tell you a story. I invented that shirt. Like, it never existed in the whole wide world before I created it because I thought it would be a good idea. Everyone loves the Clock Tower flyer. And then it got copycatted all over the world. So I guess counterfeit is the best form of flattery. So anyway, you have the original Clock Tower flyer. And no one else has I love you 555-4823 on the back, which is my handwriting, because they can't take that. Started opera when I was 8. I actually was a trained opera singer. The opera house trained me, and then I ended up becoming a founding member of the San Francisco Girls Chorus when I was about 10, I think. The San Francisco Boys Chorus is very elite, and so they wanted to do a San Francisco Girls Chorus, which became very elite. I saw when Obama had the inauguration. San Francisco Girls Chorus sang at that. Pretty cool, right? So I was in, what, Baby Wants to Go? I was in 10 operas from the age of 8 until I was 12. And some I talked in, some I sang in. Once I was a bear in one of them, in Cavalleria Rusticana with Placido Domingo, who, by the way, is the kindest, nicest, most polite, somewhat shy, incredible human being. That one of the best I've ever met. So all of this horrible rumors, they're not true. I can legitimately say from personal experience, that one's rumors. And I think it's not fair after 50 years of giving his art to the whole world. publicly, I would like to say he's an honorable, incredible man. I did it, Das Rheingold, Turandot with Luciano Pavarotti, and I was in Nibelung with the little hat. And Prince Charles came to the opening. And so we're all standing in a row backstage before the opera starts. And Prince Charles, he was young. I was 9 or 10, and I'm 54, just 54. He's shaking hands, and I'm standing there, all made up in Japanese with the hat, and he stops at me, and he said, "My goodness, what's your name?" "I'm Claudia. You are so beautiful. I can't imagine how beautiful you must be without all that makeup on." I was like, "Thanks." And he said, "One day when you grow up, will you marry me?" And I said, "Yes. Who doesn't want to be a princess?" Do you know I believed him? I believed him. So when I was 14 and my sister and my mother were watching him marry Lady Diana, I actually refused to watch it because he told me he was going to marry me. I really believed him. I did modeling and I did commercials. I did what I could in San Francisco. I was always in the like JCPenney catalogs and different things. And I just was continuing to try and talk my mother into moving to LA so I could be a proper actress. And finally, I went to college prep grammar schools. So I got into University High, which was the big school in San Francisco. But I talked my mom into, now's the time. I'm done with the 8th grade, changing schools anyway. Might as well move now. What's the harm? And we did, right after my 8th grade graduation. And when my son was 12 and 13, I looked at him and thought, if he wanted to move and wanted me to move my entire life to another city, I wouldn't. So we got to thank my mom for that. And I started interviewing agents. I didn't realize that they interview you. I thought we'd go in and choose who we want. So I would tell them what I was looking for, all adult agencies. And they all wanted me, which was awesome. And so we chose our favorite. And Lauren Bacall was in that agency. I was the only kid. And I started working. I started auditioning. I got my first pilot 1 year later. It was my first kiss. And the director said, "This is acting, so it doesn't count. So if you've never kissed before, after today, you still will never have kissed before because this is not counting." And I was like, phew. So I just kept working, kept auditioning, kept getting pilots, which some went to series. Herbie the Love Bug, Off the Rack with Ed Asner and Eileen Brennan, Fast Times. I played the Phoebe Cates role based on Fast Times at Ridgemont High. It got down to me and two other girls for Gremlins, Goonies, Young Sherlock Holmes. Those were the 3 Amblin movies that got. So when I auditioned for Back to the Future, I'm like, I'm not going to get it. I just didn't get 3 roles. They chose the other girl. But at least I screen tested and it got down to me and 2 or 3 others. And I walked in and Steven Spielberg was there, all the casting people, every single producer, Frank Marshall and Kathleen Kennedy, who were like, everybody was there. Bob Gale, Bob Zemeckis, Steven, and the guy I was auditioning with, it was his 11th callback for Marty. And I was in there on and off, except he sent us outside to do the lines faster, like a radio show. Then we went back in. It was about 2.5 hours. And Steven and I talked the whole time. I don't think anyone talked to the Marty guy, but they did make him the drummer in the band scene. And Steven was asking me all these personal questions. Do you smoke? Have you kissed a boy? All of these questions. And I told him the truth of everything. I'm very honest. But I did before I told him the truth and everyone else who was in the room. I said, you have to promise you're never going to tell anyone ever in your whole life, and you cannot tell my mom. I promise, Claudia. Tell me. Then toward the end, and I forgot that there was everyone else listening too. I forgot to make them promise. It was Steven who was talking to me, and so I'm very centrally focused when someone's talking to me. everything else turns into fuzz. Laser focus. And at the very end, he goes, "Oh, Claudia, I'm so sorry. The whole thing is still on video. I forgot to turn the camera off." I was like, "Ah." So I got the part. I found out a couple weeks later, and Eric Stoltz was Marty. So I did girlfriend, boyfriend pictures with Eric. It turns out ABC picked up off the rack to be a series. It was going to be at the same exact time as my role in Back to the Future. ABC wouldn't share me or let me go out of my contract. So I had to back out of Back to the Future and do my original contract, which was off the rack. And I remember, because we found out, once I was on set, Ed Asner was still trying. He's like, "Let the kid do a Spielberg movie. What, she's just gonna sit around eating bagels all day? Let the kid do a movie." Because it was a 3-camera show in front of a live audience. So we worked Friday night a lot, but the rest of the time, you're kind of hanging out and you rehearse your scene and then you go back and hang out. And of course, my 3 hours of school. So they recast my role because they had to. I mean, I couldn't do it. And then, lo and behold, and no one knew for like the first 20, 25 years that Eric was let go, and he's a genius actor. They wanted a lighter, more comedic, and they wanted Michael first. So they got Michael. He's extraordinary. And the girl they recast my part with is 5'7". Michael's 5'4". I'm 5'3 3/4, 5'3 1/2, but I can stretch it. So they had to let her go and rehire me. I was now available, and I got my part back. How amazing is that? I've said that story a few times, but it's astounding every time because it's destiny. Everyone knows by now I didn't do Back to the Future 2 and 3 because my mother was very, very ill. There was so much stress. I mean, she had terminal cancer, and it was just the two of us the whole time I was in LA. So that was a traumatizing time, and I just didn't feel capable of doing anything but what I was doing. So it was a no thank you, but thank you. And Elizabeth Shue and I and Phoebe Cates were the last 3 to audition for Adventures in Babysitting. So it's perfect. Elizabeth, she got, which I was shocked because I'm actually a professional babysitter. I started babysitting when I was 7. I was the neighborhood babysitter. And then when I moved to LA, I saw this wonderful woman, Jan, at M. Fredericks when I was shopping for 9th grade school clothes. And she had a stroller with a little kid in it. And I was like, "Excuse me, do you need a babysitter?" She's like, "Who are you?" I said, "Well, I'm a babysitter. I've been babysitting since I was 7. So I became her babysitter. So I'd star in a series during the week. Then Friday night I would babysit, unless it was a 3-camera show. I would literally, she'd be like, "I wish you'd stop getting TV shows so you can babysit during the week." So that's what celebrities do, or I did. That was when I was doing TV series. It's funny, right? I own a men's clothing store called Armani Wells. I opened it in 1991. I was 25. And I adore it. I dress men. It's all high-end clothing, very high-end clothing. Armani, Versace, Denali's, Ermenegildo Zegna, Prada, Gucci, Brioni, Kiton, Brunello Cucinelli. It's Hermes. It's really the best of the best. And I sell for about 10% of retail. So 10 to 50, depending on what it is. Suits are probably 10 to 20% retail because they're so expensive that at my prices, I charge what the guy paid in tax, maybe. And they're perfect condition, current style. I'm a resale store. And I became so passionate about it. I opened it so I could go back to acting, but I didn't realize it would be so fulfilling. And I love having a business sense, a business mind, and it's creative. And I get to bring out the best in people, so it's fulfilling. I still adore acting, and I've done it a few times when people finally ask me. And every time it's like, do I still like it? Am I still good at it? Is it still? And every time it's entirely, completely fulfilling, just like it used to be. I'm very grateful for my life, and I'm very, very grateful for the love I get every single day on the media sites. It's some of them, there's like the meanies, like on Mail UK Online. They picked up a story about me, I don't know, a week or two ago. 75 comments that were like, oh my God, what'd she do to her face? She doesn't age well. Da, 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 da. And I'm like, I have 60 stitches from a car crash and my nose broke, but I haven't had a facelift or anything. I like natural. This is my natural hair. Not the color, part of the color, but the texture and all that. I'm a German Jew. Russian, German, Bohemian, a tiny bit of Australian, Danish. 98% Ashkenazi Jew. I just found that out when I did my. So I'm a Jewish Christian. 75 meanie comments on Mail UK Online. I put the same picture on my Instagram, and there was about 78 comments. Beautiful, loving, kind, supportive, funny. Same picture, two different circumstances. Now, how that relates to people wanting to be an actor, you're going to walk into a room and they might not like you and be mean to you, or they might like you and be nice to you. You cannot take any of that personally. You cannot decide that you are who they say you are. You just can't. Because if they say you're too short, too fat, too thin, too blonde, too brunette, someone else will say, you're perfect, you're beautiful, that reading was phenomenal, I love your size, I love your hair color, I can't wait till you come back in, I'm going to bring you into the producers. First of all, actors are usually a bit shy in person. I've grown into myself so much so, and with the store, that I've become quite the outgoing girl, tough girl, survivor. But I used to believe that I was what I was told I was. So you got to be very careful, because the power of the tongue, because you can claim things like, if you say I'm too fat, you're actually cursing your own self. So what's super important, when you walk in, it is subjective. They actually are talking about you. Like, a lot of people are saying, oh, it's not subjective. Yeah, it is. They're personally telling you whether you're right or you're wrong for the part. So I took all of that in. And I mean, like, I was really sad I didn't get Gremlins. I didn't get Goonies. I didn't get Young Sherlock Holmes. I didn't get Adventures of Babysitting, or a ton of other things that got down to being One Other Girl. But God knew I was going to get Back to the Future. So it could have saved me a lot of, darn it, I wish I got that part, if I had just really, truly known in my soul what God says is mine, and what he says is someone else's, is someone else's. Because God gave you a passion for acting, or writing, or camera operator, or directing, or producing. He put that in your heart so that when it came to your mind, or like me when I first saw television, it pops open. The passion is what you're meant to do, and the plan's already there. So, and you might have more than one plan, because the story never occurred to me when I was planning my whole life. I guarantee you that. And then I ended up finding out that my grandfather was in the jeans business and the clothing business. It's all in my heritage. It's in my blood. I love doing that, and yet I am still an actress, even though I tried to tell myself I'm not. And I will be acting again, because there's so many roles I can do that I couldn't do before, because I've lived so much life. So pay attention to life. Watch other people in a restaurant, how they behave, and borrow some of those behaviors, those quirks, those personality things. Because what you're going to do is you're going to borrow other personalities and you're going to put them in your character. What you're also going to do is take whatever piece of you is that tough girl, or that sad girl, or that ecstatic girl, there's a little, or man, there's a little sliver in you that's going to be somewhat every character. And you simply expand that sliver of you so you're completely believable. If the person you're talking to on set believes you, you're believable. If you come up with the backstory, even if it's not written, I knew everything about Jennifer. I knew how she was in school. I knew what grade she got. I knew her parents. I knew where she lived. I knew all about her relationship with Marty. None of that is said. None of that shows, but it all becomes a whole person. So you're creating a human being and not just a jacket. If there's any other career on the planet that you can think of that might make you happy, do that. If there's nothing at all that you can consider that would make you happy other than acting, then be an actor. Be a breath of fresh air. People will hire who they want to work with. If you're rude and crass, cranky, and in a bad mood, why would they want to hire you and have that around all the time? They want someone who's a pleasure to be with. That's part of the audition as well. The most important thing is to believe in yourself, to understand that God made you beautifully and wonderfully made, perfectly made, and other people's opinion about you is just an opinion. Don't take it to heart. I believe that I was okay if I was working professionally. Not true. I was okay otherwise. I'm not working as a professional actress now, and I know I'm all right. So know in your heart, because there's all that insecurity already as a teenager or a young adult or an older adult. And my pastor just said the other day, I think that, your issue might be insecurity. Now, it's a work in progress. It's a journey. All we have is the journey. You're not like going anywhere. Look at all these stars who got Oscars and they can't get a movie. So it's not the destination. It really, truly is the journey. Several things. I don't know how much I'm going to do on it, but I opened Claudia's Closet on Facebook to sell my personal clothes. I have so many. And then I didn't like that one, so I didn't like the picture. I couldn't figure it out. So I opened another Claudia's Closet. I like that one. And so I have two Claudia's Closet, but I'm only using one. But now I'm thinking maybe I'll merge them into my The Claudia Wells fan page. I think I'm just going to merge it all into The Claudia Wells fan page. The Claudia Wells on Facebook, The Claudia Wells on Twitter, and The Claudia Wells on Instagram. And they got that little blue, yes, it's really The Claudia Wells, because there's a bunch, all of a sudden, there's like dozens of Armani Wells, and there's tons of Claudia Wells, and there's many Jennifer Parkers. I'm the only it's The Claudia Wells, or it's not me. I'm doing a private signing with supercollectors.com. So if you want anything you have to be signed, send it, look up supercollectors.com, and you can send it to them. I'm doing a signing in September and another one in October, and they're both virtual. And then there's an auction going on in October. I'm meeting the auctioneer on Monday because I have a lot of amazing facts. My mom saved all the newspaper clippings, right? I've got the program from the premiere. I got some cool stuff. I have pictures no one's ever seen. My mother saved everything. So thank you, Mama. I'm supposed to have done a movie in the Czech Republic. That was April, but of course the country is closed down. But as soon as it opens, and now they're doing a ton of filming there. I think it has opened. Donnie Most is in it. Ralph Malph from Happy Days. He plays the king. And Goldie, Don Fullilove, Mayor Goldie Wilson, he's going to play the doctor. It's reality, and then it goes into a fairy tale, but not a cartoon. I'm the queen. In a castle. She said, we might put you up in a beautiful hotel, or you could just stay in the castle. I'm like, I'll stay in the castle. I'm on Cameo, so you can get a video on Cameo. And you can buy fan mail on my ClaudiaWells.com site. I get a ton of fan mail in the mail where people want me to sign the pictures and things. And I don't always do it because it's a part of my business and I sell them on ClaudiaWells.com. So I really don't want people mailing in pictures and things like that. Stacks and stacks and stacks of them. And I don't want anyone to waste, a stamped envelope. I'm the ambassador of Kids in the Spotlight, a charity. I'm a founding board member. We help foster kids. KidsInTheSpotlight.org. I'm also an ambassador for Garden of Life, which is why I'm so healthy. And I love them. I highly recommend them. Garden of Life products. I take them every day. Vitamins. I also use all their powders in my smoothies every day. And I'm open to whatever God has for me. I really am. And I love anything Jennifer Parker. I just adore being a part of that franchise. I feel so grateful and so blessed. And it's amazing. Like, this is for my family. Let's see. Watch. You see? This is where I do my fan mail. Can you see it? Someone took my chair. Did you take my chair? I'll share with you. Do you see Maria? Armani Wells, ARMANIWELLS, is my store website. And you can always contact me through there. You can also contact me through ClaudiaWells.com. I'm starting to get interest in emails about 2021 for shows all over the world. I'm game. I love doing them. I love the travel. I love fans. I come home exhausted. I give every single part of my being to every single person because I'm so honored to be. And I did this whole interview not hearing a single word from you. I looked at the questions. I got to a lot of them. I guess I could do a long interview all by myself. My pleasure. Thank you.
It is time to reveal the winner of not only this sold out Studio Canal 4K box set, which has 5 discs on it, and there's so much on it, I'm not going to read all the bonus features, but it is worth every penny. It is worth every answer of the competition. And also we were giving away these extra Arrow Films Blu-rays. Pretty impressive. Thank you so much for everyone who entered. Not only did people enter, but the amount of detail and thought that went into the answers, I was pretty blown away. So it was very, very hard to choose. However, I have to say that one stood out to me because the amount of detail that he or she put into these answers, which seemed to be on like a daily basis, there'd be a new answer, was just very appreciated, and also pretty amazing films that would be great to see on 4K. So God in a Cape, you had from The Warriors, Excalibur. Not only did you kind of do a daily answer, you also went into detail about like the bonus features and what else should be on the releases. So everyone scroll down the comments and have a look at God in a Cape's answers. Shout out to Will Peony though. You were very persistent and you were probably the second runner-up, Will. So thank you for being so persistent. But God in a Cape, please email lisa@sparechangefilms.co.uk and I will get all of these to you. Don't forget to subscribe. Please subscribe. We're very early on, but you can kind of see the content that we're doing, so it would be great to continue doing this. Comment, what do you think about Claudia? What do you think about Back to the Future? What are your films that you grew up with? Who would you like us to interview on the show? Ash will be back next week. I feel a bit like Garth in Wayne's World, where Wayne left him on his own a little bit.
I'm having a good time. Not. Did you ever see that scene in Scanners when that dude's head blew up?
All of the details of Claudia's social media, her website, personal website, her Cameo details, all of those kind of things will be pinned in the comment, so you can connect with her as well. In the meantime, have a fabulous week. It is September. Who knows where the time goes. Have a fabulous week and I will see you back with Ash next week.